What's up? Welcome to the latest episode of Toke and a Talk. You are here with Kendra, our beautiful representative from Higher Self Healing, myself, Mandy Elam, and our absolutely incredible guest, Holly Joy McCabe. Hey, Holly, what's up?
Hey, ladies. Super excited to chat with you and to be here.
We're excited and honored. Holly has been a friend of mine, and even though we don't technically work together, it almost feels like you're a colleague a lot. And I get to consult with your energy all the time and see what's up. And Holly has so much knowledge and wisdom in so many places. One of the things she studied super intensely is plant medicine, particularly cannabis and CBD. And she has her own line of CBD, as well as many other products that help us along our healing journey. And I'm excited to jam about that.
Yeah. Yeah. And I do feel like we're like soul colleagues, like
Right?
we're in this like trying to help the universe thing. So technically we work in the same place, the universe.
Yeah. And Holly and I get to like consult every now and then. And it's fun. It's cool.
Yeah.
And I just love your energy and I appreciate your mission and all the things that Holly takes the time. Holly takes the time to do the work and to get real and to find out truth behind things. And if she does research on something or chooses to embody something or practice something, you better bet that Holly knows it inside and out. So I'm pretty excited to pick your brain a little bit about CBD in particular and the things you know about cannabis.
Yeah. Yeah. It's a double-edged sword, that rabbit hole tendency that I have. Like if I get interested in something, there's no dabbling for me. There's no, I read an article about that or watched Dr. Oz about that. No, it's like head first, full on, in the deep end, like until I can't breathe. And then I have to come up and like kind of process and integrate. And I've done it with so many different topics, including plant medicine and cannabis and stuff. So yeah, it's fun, but
Heck yes. Well, maybe we could just start it out with you sharing a little bit about your relationship with cannabis. What's that looked like? For us, we've shared many times. It's helped us on our healing journeys. I dabbled with it a little bit when I was a teenager and then didn't really start using it until I was about 25 for healing. So we all have our own different journeys and paths, and we're curious about, your story with it.
yeah. So, I mean, in a nutshell, I grew up like crazy strict religious. I mean, there was no alcohol. Cannabis might as well been hardcore heroin. I mean, it was that mindset. So growing up, like my older siblings or some people, here and there that had cannabis, it was like, that's a hard drug. No way, And then when I was 19, like I was dating a guy that smoked all the time and I kind of dabbled there. And really the only reason, like I had kind of released the stigma and I was sort of in that rebellious stage anyway. And I enjoyed it, but I also like found that it would make me literally want to eat everything. And so I kind of looked at that as a negative. Like we would literally go to drive-thrus and I'd be like, give me 17 cheeseburgers. But I was also in a very disordered state of like chronic dieting and, binge eating and starvation and stuff. So it just kind of compounded that. And then I didn't really touch it for years and years and years. I didn't have any stigmas about it. I didn't have any interest in it. It was just kind of like, yeah, some people smoke, some people drink, cannabis. And then about, I guess like 7-8 years ago, CBD research kind of came on my radar. And, my career was health, wellness, nutrition. I love studying orthomolecular medicine, which is basically the science of vitamins and minerals and how they interact in our body. And I had started that process after getting really sick from really extreme dieting and training. Like I was doing fitness competitions and I learned how depleted my body was of like magnesium and electrolytes and stuff. So that had been a really big interest of mine for years. Especially in the fitness space, really looking at your vitamins and minerals and supplementing appropriately and really giving your body the core elements that it needs. And just thought that supplementation was a really key part of the wellness spectrum. And then cannabis kind of came on my radar. I was interested. I was in Nashville for a long time. So, I mean, nothing was ever legal there in terms of THC. And, there was a lot of gray areas with hemp for many years too. But I started kind of studying it and researching it and getting interested in it. And then about, I guess it's 4.5 years ago now, my life kind of had an overhaul. Like I had been really, really chronically stressed. I owned a gym and I loved it, but it was so draining. Like I was just stressed, never really sleeping, like nothing. And I made the decision to close that facility because I was like, I can't keep this up. And I knew I wanted to take the mission of like mind, body, soul healing, like spiritual fit chick to the masses. So I do that. I close that. I think closing the gym is going to fix all my problems. And basically what had happened is my body was in a chronic stress state, like fight or flight state, for like 31 years of my life. I was just on pure adrenaline, run, push, train, build a business, go. And when I sold the gym or closed the gym, moved to a new state and kind of like started all over, it was like my brain and body, the stress of all of that and my lifelong stress and trauma, like I've always described it as like falling off a cliff. Like it literally just felt like I had been like somehow keeping my head above water, and I just fell into this black hole of pain, exhaustion. Like my body was just like, we can't function. Like it was like I stopped for the first time. And so I had several new companies I was working on. I had just spent this year traveling, internationally. Like I just thought my life was about to begin. And instead I get like chronically and debilitatingly ill and can't function and like get off the couch or out of bed for like months and months. And this is where I started taking a much deeper dive into cannabis and the nervous system. That had always been a big part of my work, but I took a much deeper look at what can help me, because I'm in a chronic state of my adrenals are crashed. I'm depleted. I have been pushing my body so far, so hard for so long. Like I need something. And that was when I did the deep dive into cannabis, right? And I was like literally bedbound for almost 8 months. And then a year after that, pretty much housebound. Like I couldn't walk. I couldn't speak half the time. I was tripping and dropping things. Like I thought I was like about to kill over and die. I was like, something is seriously wrong. And I was recovering from a bad viral infection. I had all this chronic stress. I had acute stresses of moving, getting married, all of that. And basically my system was just tanked, nervous system tanked. And that was really the entry point to cannabis and plant medicine and studying it. And it's kind of a dual blessing in a way, because like I'm an entrepreneur, right? Like my whole essence is entrepreneurial. I love creating. I love serving the world. And when I got sick and couldn't work out myself or train clients or anything else, it was like all of my impact in the world felt stripped away. And I felt so like just empty and like dead inside. I mean, I was in a really dark place, to be quite frank. I mean, I was suicidal, and I was just like, for whatever is going on, I don't want to do this. And then what was going on in my body chemically had depleted me so much that I was very chemically depressed. Like it was clinical. And so I started studying cannabis and hemp and, CBD and all of that, looking for my own answers. And then realizing like not only the deficit in the world, like how much crappy CBD is and how, gas stations and it was popping up everywhere, but that there was also this huge need to serve. So I was like, well, one, I'm studying this because I think it can really help me. But as I started using it and trying different things, I had started looking into different companies and figuring out like what's quality, what makes CBD work and all of this. And it was like the thing that helped me get my head above water in that drowning dark space of just like, okay, I'm just done. Let me check out. Once I started utilizing it, and again, having that hope of like, wow, there's this plant that can do so much. And I have all these symptoms and these, physiological things going on, and this helps all of them. And then I got really excited, and it kind of ignited the spark for me in my entrepreneurial side of, I can't do much at all right now. I'm basically stuck in this bed. And if I don't find some sort of creative outlet to feel like I'm serving the world and, creating something positive, like that's what keeps me going. And so Zen in a Bottle was literally born out of that crisis of my own health. And then that desire to need to serve and have a purpose and create something. And it got really exciting because before I had always served people trading time for dollars, seeing people one-to-one in a gym all day, every day, and you only have so many hours. But I started to get really excited about the idea that I could reach like thousands and millions of people with a product that was so valuable on such a systemic deep level. Like, I mean, literally every cell of our body positively benefits from this. And that's where the passion and the story started. And again, when I started researching, I was like, before I say a word about this, I was doing my homework on the back end of the business side of where do we source hemp? What's the best extraction? All of that, studying my own application of it. And, I've always been incredibly honest. I'm like, CBD did not magically heal my 30 plus years of chronic illness that finally reached a head. It didn't. And I could make that claim and I could try to fool everybody. It didn't. And I don't think any supplement or any product ever really is the one thing that just magically transforms things for people. But sometimes, actually a lot of times, when you're in that really, really dark space, you just need to feel like you're not drowning. You just need to feel 10% better. Like you feel like you can get through the day and maybe go for a 5-minute walk, or maybe prepare something healthy. And that's where I was at. And that's where a lot of people are at in different places in their lives. And I think that cannabis and supplements in general, when used appropriately, are like literal lifelines for us when we're in those places. And it was for me, like I said, on both sides. And that's kind of my story, you know, kind of the long version of it. I'm not good at nutshells, because I'm like, no, this is important. This is important.
Oh,
but it really was
every word. And I know our listeners are too.
Yeah, it was just like, it was such a process of, you know, kind of understanding supplements and different things, and then really getting to that point where it changed my life. And it's been a really tough business to be in, because it's very commercialized. There's a lot of cutthroat, money hungry, not so great people, and, you know, companies and stuff. And so at first I was really excited. I was like, sacred plant medicine. And then the more I got into the business side of it, I was like, this is scary. These people are jackasses.
Yeah.
So there were definitely times that I was like, what did I get myself into? But I try to always come back to that. The story I just told of like, why did I get in this? Why do I care? Why is this important to me? How does this help people? How does this help to me? And that keeps me going through all of the craziness and, you know, any negativity or anything like that, because it's just a really incredible little molecule that does a lot of really amazing things. So yeah, that's kind of my journey with it.
So I just need to say something. You described that perfectly. Like I could never, I mean, I've tried to explain to people like how I use THC for pain. And like you described it beautifully, like, cause I get like frustrated because it's like, no, the pain doesn't really go away. It does, but like, it's just my mind. Like, I don't give a shit about the pain. I vacuum. I do yoga. I stretch. I go to work for 9 hours. Like, that's what THC does to me. It just elevates me to a place of, you got this. And it's a beautiful stepping stone. But like, I've heard people complain, like, you know, who have severe pain or whatever, where THC, it doesn't do shit for them. And like, I feel terrible, but like my kind of pain, like my fibromyalgia and my diabetes and my everything, and, you know, my slip discs and whatever, THC is my BFF. So, I don't know. So thank you. Like, I totally get it. And I am, very curious to see if you can maybe make me comprehend in my head right now, like anything like Delta 8, CBG, you know, these are things that I can get in Tennessee. I cannot get THC in Tennessee, but I can walk right now and go to 5 stores that will sell me flower, edibles, tinctures. I have some tinctures of CBD, but like, I'm looking for THC. I'm looking for my friend, and I haven't found anything that to really help me yet. So, I'm curious to see if you do that, if you can help me with that, or your website or something, because that is like where I've been tripping out down here, because I can't find my friend.
And we've been trying to get to the bottom of the whole Delta 8 thing, and we get lots of different responses around that. Not that we've done super deep our own research yet, but we keep asking everyone.
Well, I keep buying it and smoking it and eating it, and it's just not what I'm looking for. You know what I mean?
Right. Yeah. To go to your first point about like, you know, kind of it dialing down. I use the phrase, sometimes it's like, it takes it from a screaming pain, like someone screaming in your ear, to like down a couple dials to maybe they're just talking in a normal voice, or maybe even whispering. It's like, it doesn't go away. But one thing that I say, and I think it's important to mention this now, is, again, I own a supplement company. So people assume that when they come to me and they say, hey, I have this pain, this pain, this pain, that I'm going to be like, take these 20 supplements and take it for life. But my background goes way beyond that. You know, I'm a licensed body worker, nutritionist. Like, I've studied so many different fields. And so I always like to educate people that cannabis works with the brain and the body on a kind of a nervous system level, like on a whole body level. But it's going to hit different types of pain differently. Like, if you have a slip disc, then that is skeletal, and you're looking at nerve compression. CBD is not going to go in and rearrange and adjust your spine, right?
Right.
You're chronically deficient in magnesium and your muscles are spasming, which is huge. you're gonna be in that state of like chronic stiffness and muscle pain. If you're eating a certain diet that's inflammatory for you, you're gonna have that systemic pain. So CBD won't come in and fix those things, but again, what it can do is help dial down. But you always want to be searching a little bit deeper to what's really fueling the pain to begin with. Like that's kind of always my goal as a practitioner and a therapist, to help people get to the bottom of it. And again, sometimes I'm like, CBD will probably help you get through. But again, if you have one of these other problems, like you still want to be getting to the root of what is fueling this. Is my back out of alignment? Do I need to get spinal care and strengthen my muscles around that? Do I have a food allergy that I need to identify that's triggering this inflammatory response? And CBD does work on a systemic level like that, because it does work with inflammation. It helps with everything, but it's, again, it's like, what kind of injury are you having that's putting your body off balance? And if it's way over here, then CBD can't come along and swing it all the way back over here.
Right.
But if it's just kind of here, CBD can help get you here and help get you functioning and everything else. And so I think sometimes that the expectation is really important for people. And I like that you brought that up, because again, sometimes people, it doesn't help that there's a lot of like multi-level marketing companies that are in the CBD space. And when those companies get involved, it's always historically been that they make insane claims. They claim things they can't even legally claim. They say it's going to fix everything. And so they put the bar way up here, and then people try it. And again, maybe they have a slip disc, or they've had chronic migraines from a brain injury, and CBD doesn't really do anything for them. It doesn't numb their pain out. And then they're like, CBD is a joke. And that's not even to say that, like, for one, it wasn't even a good quality brand. It wasn't even like actual plant medicine. But the expectation is big. And to answer your other questions about THC, Delta 8 and all of that. So Delta 8 is legally a big gray area right now. It's kind of where hemp
I knew Holly would have some info for us. Sorry.
Thank you, Holly.
Well, and not even probably enough, but enough to tell you that there's not enough clarity.
Get us started.
Yeah. In the legal space, it's just kind of hit or miss. There's some states that have been like hard no. There's some states that are like, we don't even really know because there's not enough guidelines. So from a legal standpoint, yes, it's available. Yes, it works very much like THC. It's said to. There's not a lot of research on the isolate in and of itself. It's very new. So we don't know exactly what and how it works. And then the problem with anything like that is because it is being marketed and manufactured in a way that's trying to sort of serve the THC market, more of the like recreational user, not someone that's using THC for pain or sleep or whatever. We don't even really know what that is. You know, like there are ways, like years ago, I dated a guy and he had something called, I can't even remember what it was called, but it was this little capsule that was being sold at gas stations, herb something. And it was designed to be the exact same thing. And he was like, yeah, I take these because it's like weed, but like it's legal. And I'm like, what is it? And he's like, I don't know. I'm like, just taking this thing that makes you feel this kind of way and you don't even know what it is. So unfortunately, Delta 8 is kind of like that. You've got a lot of brands. They're not in the wellness space. They are creating these gummies and these products to appeal to the person who wants to get high. And so that means chemicals, contaminants, food colorings, additives, and Lord knows what else is in there. There's a lot of things that can make the brain kind of feel high. And there's nobody regulating this. This is the thing about the supplement industry as a whole, is there are no regulatory agencies that come along and pull these products off the shelf and say, let's test and see what this is. For one, is this Delta 8? For two, is this 5 milligrams of Delta 8?
Right.
What are these other ingredients? There's nobody doing that. And I think that's really important to note, because it is literally companies' responsibility to lab test, to do quality assurance, to do independent testing. Like that's our job to do. Like we have to pay for that. Well, I care about health and wellness and, you know, legal ethics and all of that. People that are just in it for the money, like they're like, we don't care. These people don't care. Like, let's just do that. So it's just a really tough gray area in general. And that's for CBD too, because when you see CBD at a gas station, it's not really CBD. You know, there's nothing to indicate that it is CBD. Quality hemp and extracted hemp in a quality way. It's not cheap. You know, it's not easy to just throw in these cheap gummies and put in a gas station for 25 cents. So to me, the Delta 8 thing is, maybe there's a couple companies out there that are providing legitimate isolated cannabinoids in that way that could have similar therapeutic effects, but there's a lot of unknown and it's definitely a risk. Yeah. There's not enough research. There's not enough awareness. The brands that I've seen putting it out, again, they're not health and wellness space. They're not putting out science and lab reports. They're just trying to sell a product to get people high. Mm-hmm. That's really, really a slippery slope. And in terms of, I kind of forget, there was like 3 different questions and I got off on that one. And I'm sort of forgetting what the third question was, that you had.
Okay. It's okay. No, I love that you said that, because I've been trying to be really open-minded, but I'm very skeptical. Like, I go in these places, they're doing dabs. They're like, it's just not what I'm doing. Like, I want medicine. And there are some reputable companies down here of products I've tried that, I did a little research on, and they are supposedly doing what you're talking about with the regulations and things, and they're measuring. But for the most part, 80% of what I can buy is a Rice Krispie treat. I don't know who the hell made it. Nerd ropes and whatever. And I'm just not into it. And
Kendra's diabetic. So it's like,
it's just interesting to me. And again, I think like you hit the nail on the head when you said it's expectations. Like that's totally what it is. Like, my expectations are what they are because I was, getting THC products medically in the state of New Jersey, and it was highly regulated. I thought it was highly regulated. More and more I look at it, it's like, oh, there's mold, there's this, and you're just like, and like, it just goes back to the point, Holly, that I just want to grow my own medicine and put it in my own oven and, make my tinctures myself, because I should be allowed to do that. But that always comes up in this show. But I love, I will definitely be checking out your website after this and making some purchases, because I just love that you are, I don't know, you're just breaking it down in such a way like that makes me happy and comfortable. And I just want to know what your products are, if you don't mind just telling us real quick about that.
Yeah. So the big thing when I started really looking into cannabis and the hemp extraction, and it all comes down to molecular science, basically. Mm-hmm. Like, that's what everything that we put into our body is going to interact with things on a chemical level, and it's going to create a process. So the way a molecule is extracted, the stability of the molecule, there's so much science into CBD, which is again why I'm kind of an elitist when it comes to CBD, because I'm like, you did not get that from a gas station. Like, no, don't even call that CBD. Yeah. And so for me, I knew right away that the process that we extracted and the way we preserved the cannabis plant as a whole, like the hemp, was going to be of the utmost importance. And I want to tell you a little bit about why our process is so different. Okay. So literally 99% of CBD out there is extracted through 2 main methods. You have CO2 extraction and cold pressing. They both claim to be the best. They're like, oh yeah, this is the best. Cold pressing doesn't heat up the chemical molecules and destroy things. CO2 is like, yeah, it does this. But the problem is they're both destructive in their own way. They pull out a certain part of the plant and the certain molecules, but they leave a lot behind. And they also typically, because for hemp to be legal, for CBD to be legal, it has to legally have below 0.3% THC. So hemp has to be grown. It's technically industrial hemp. It has to be grown very specifically, harvested very specifically. And a lot of times these companies are actually using the stem down, like literally just the stem of the plant, because hemp is being manufactured for a lot of other things too, like for textiles. Like, hemp is really exploding, right? You can use it for a lot of things. And so they leave the stem because there's nothing left. And that's what these companies are actually extracting from. So you already have a pretty poor extraction method. And then you have just the stem, the base of the plant. And then you add all these preservatives, flavoring agents, additives, and the end result makes me go like this. It's really not good, because it's so destroyed and it's not how nature intended it. So cannabis and, hemp, it's the whole plant. It's the flower, it's the leaves, it's everything in that. The whole plant is actually where the full spectrum of cannabinoids is. We utilize not only the full flower, like the full entire plant, but we extract it with a patented process that we now have 23 different patents for, where it's vaporized. So it literally gets vapor extracted. It's flash activated. So literally in like a millisecond, this gets flash activated. The vapors get pulled out and then it gets preserved. Like it almost sounds magical without going into the in-depth chemical science of it, but it literally like pulls out the whole plant in a vapor form and then condenses it into the actual extract. So you get every single terpene, you get every single cannabinoid and everything that is in the plant as nature intended. You don't get that with anything else. So on our website, we have something called a terpene profile, right? Terpenes are what give the flower its actual smell. So when you smell that hemp smell, that is the actual terpene. That's what's in essential oils, right? Well, they all work really synergistically together. Again, nature is brilliant, man. You cannot toy with her or top her. You're never going to be smarter than her. So when people are trying
plant of life, we keep calling her mom, like plant and cannabis, Mama Canna, and we keep like talking about how it really is like the plant of life, and like when we get down to it, the tree of life in a lot of ways, and like there's so much to that, and you're really supporting that with a lot of the things you're saying.
Yeah, and to me, I mean, I feel the same. Like I very much consider plant medicine a sacred thing. Like these plants were put on this earth to help serve us. And so to me, even the process of how we're going to take that out, like needs to be in integrity. It needs to be holistic, and it needs to be done in a way that honors the plant as is. So that was really important to me. I could have gone to all these different manufacturers and been like, yeah, I can get, 25 cents for a bottle. Sure. And I could have made a profit, and I could have gone a lot of different directions. Right. But like, for me, I had one purpose, like help people heal, honor plant medicine, and like get this message out in a quality product. So this process was far superior. It keeps all these terpenes intact. And when you look at this on our website, it looks like a rainbow because all the terpenes are like a different colored graph. And we have like literally an unheard of terpene count in our profile, like on the end result of the actual extraction. And it's because of that really delicate vapor flash activation that doesn't destroy half the molecules and kind of compromise the others. And then here's the third part that makes our process really different. So the cannabis molecule is like this, right? Your body has to actually break down the outer layer to get it. That's why when you eat or, smoke, like you get different effects and there's different half-lives. Smoking is already activated, but if you're just consuming, your body has to go through the digestive process and break down that outer layer of the molecule, which is why you see all these different bottles that are like 5,000 milligrams and people think, oh yeah, that's great. Cool. You got about 1 milligram when it was all like said and done. Once you destroyed it, you put in all the additives, you added all the toxins, and then you ingested it, but it wasn't activated. So you basically, after you broke it down, got a couple milligrams. And so people, when they see our oil, they're like, that's only 500 milligrams. What? No, I take like 1,000 every day. And like, because you're taking junk CBD and you're not even getting any milligrams of CBD. So this flash activation process, it does what we call activate the molecule. So it takes down that barrier, that outer layer of the molecule. And it means as soon as you take it, it goes straight into the bloodstream and you're ready to go. Like the cannabinoids go to work on your receptors and start balancing the body on a systemic level. So those 3-4 core things are what make our products completely different. Not just like apples to oranges, like, okay, you added peppermint, we didn't. It's monumentally different in terms of the end result, what you get, the way all of those molecules work together, so there's something that's scientifically validated called the Entourage Effect. And it's basically the way everything in the cannabis plant works together synergistically to just do so many different things. When you start pulling out just one molecule and destroying these few and then adding this in, it's like trying to make meatloaf, but then changing your mind and trying to make tacos. Like you're not really going to end up with either, or you're just going to kind of have some things, right? So yeah, if you're starving, you might want to eat it, but it's not going to do what you wanted it to do on either end, right? So it's really important to understand that the whole plant needs to be utilized. It needs to be preserved. and it needs to be delivered in a way that doesn't add a bunch of junk and flavor agents and additives. Man, if I could show you some of the pictures people have sent me over the years, is this CBD good? And like the ingredient list again makes me cringe, because I'm like, why is citric acid in there? Why is blue number 5 in there? Why is sodium, like why are all these ingredients in there? And it's because it's a crap product that needs all these preservatives, flavoring agents, because it tastes like crap. And all these things to make it seem like it's not awful, but it's actually awful. And I'll show you guys here. So for one, when you open this bottle, it smells like cannabis. It doesn't smell like dead squirrel or anything else. Like, again, some of the products that people have brought to me.
Hilarious tonight.
Is this? But it's like, it's true. Like even, you know, manufacturers and stuff have been like, hey, we have this awesome product. We want to send it to you. And I'm always open. I'm like, we can expand our line. And they've literally sent me stuff that when you open it, it's like tar black. And that is literally because they have destroyed the molecule and it's like burnt. It's like burnt plant. You open it up, it smells horrific. And like to taste it, I literally want to barf. And like, I can handle a lot of different things. So ours smells really, really, really pure. It smells like cannabis and it's almost clear. Like it's this nice preserved color. There's companies that will blend their CBD into hemp oil, and hemp oil kind of has a natural green tint, and they claim, it's just a marketing claim. They claim that hemp oil is superior and that this stuff should be green. And I'm like, that's not how it works. Again, when you pull the molecule out, the molecule itself doesn't have any color really. So there's just all these marketing terms, and there's all this kind of like, again, direct marketing is responsible for a lot of it. And that's where people are learning from about CBD a lot. So there's all these claims and all this misunderstanding about what CBD does and how it works, but then also what actually makes a quality CBD. Like, how do you actually get the benefits that have been scientifically studied? And more research is coming out about things like the full spectrum, that we need all the cannabinoids together, not just CBD in isolation. We need terpenes to actually, like the terpenes are like the key that unlock the molecule. So if you don't have those, it's like getting in a Porsche and cool, it's a great car, but like, where are the keys? If you don't have the keys, you can't go anywhere. So again, all those things are really important, using the full flower and all of that. And that's a little bit about our oil and our process and why I'm proud of it.
Thank you for doing it. Thank you for taking the time, for healing yourself. I loved earlier in our conversation when you were talking about how, you know, you pretty much died in 2017. I definitely did too. I know so many people experience that feeling, and I'm so grateful you've been brave enough to take that time to really do something creative and allow it to heal you and heal others. I also, while we're kind of getting into all of this, so Kendra and I both suffer from well, I wouldn't say suffer, we've both been really healing chronic fatigue and fibromyalgia and serious pain and nerve issues, and I've had really bad joint damage. I used to have crazy gout attacks that I've been able to heal. I kind of joke around and say like my 3 secret weapons are like angel's weed and celery juice, and like those 3 things, as well as, you know, a lot of other discipline and whatnot, have really helped me to heal. And something that Kendra and I talk about often is we just love classic flower. We love actually like smoking and toking on just flower, like especially if it can be organic and blessed and charged up with crystal energy and whatnot. And like we literally feel it. And I'm wondering if there's anything that you know about that, particularly with the nerve issues, that make us enjoy that or make that our favorite or make that the thing that helps us to heal the most. I don't know. I'm just curious your thoughts.
Yeah. I mean, when you're smoking the full flower, you're kind of getting to a degree what I just described. Like you're getting the full plant sort of molecule. You don't have all the toxins, like vape pens and stuff have a lot of different chemicals and toxins and stuff in them that can sort of negate and also disrupt the molecule and how it works, right? Mm-hmm. So you are getting not only a most direct delivery, because you don't have that breakdown in the digestive tract, like we talked about, if you're doing edibles, smoking, where you have all these other chemicals to interfere, you're getting the kind of the purest, most direct, most intense version if you're going to do that. So that does make sense that you would get the most therapeutic benefit, because you also are going to get those terpenes and stuff in there that's in the full flower. So that would be your best bet. Unfortunately, anytime anything is heated going into the lungs, you know, it does have a little bit of a negative repercussion. But therapeutically speaking, if you're looking to ease nerve pain and stuff, that is going to be the most potent. Tinctures do the same thing in terms of like ours. If you put it under your tongue, it's working sublingually. So it's literally going to absorb under the tongue and go straight into the bloodstream. And then you swallow it and you do get even more activation as you go. So the CBD, it would be really interesting to hear you guys kind of try this type of CBD because it is full flower and it does have all those terpenes, and see, you would probably, there's a couple ways you could use it. You could try it in isolation. The thing that I've consistently found is that people, if they've used THC, the pain response is not really systemic. It's more neurological. Again, it's turning down that screaming voice in your head that's saying pain, 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 pain. And it just brings it down, right? Because it's psychoactive. The way that molecule works in the brain is very different than what CBD does. And again, THC has incredible benefits for cancer, for seizures. It's an amazing molecule, but they're two different people, right?
Right.
But the way CBD works is much more on a systemic level because you have CBD receptors in your entire body. So we have something called an endocannabinoid system. Unfortunately, less than like 11% of medical schools even teach doctors about this. So this is not something that people know about, that like we're born with this and we need to nourish this, right?
We should do a whole lesson in this and teach about this because it's really cool. I would love, I'll ask you after the show, but I'd love you to come on maybe another show that we have and teach about this, because we love teaching about things that we haven't been taught because we deserve to know. So thank you for research and sharing it with us.
Yeah. I mean, it's wild because, you know, my whole career was studying the body systems in fitness and in, you know, I studied everything from pathology to the 11 systems of the body. We're not taught about the fascia system or the endocannabinoid. I'm like, there's more systems of the body actually. So even having all that training and stuff, it's like, there's still things missing. So when you have that system, what CBD does that's kind of unique, I always like, I can geek out, but I like to put things in ways that are really easy for people to understand. And I like to describe it as a switchboard. So your body and your brain and your nervous system is like a master switchboard, right? We get stress and this button goes way up here. Like we get really tired and kind of apathetic or shut down and this button goes down here. And we get anxiety or we respond to a food negatively. And it's like all these buttons get high, low, high, low, high, low, high, low. The amazing thing about this CBD molecule is that it literally like has its own intelligence. And this is why I think truly, like I have the respect for the plant that I do, because it is an intelligence that we cannot manufacture. Like big pharma cannot replicate this stuff. Like this is pure Mother Nature genius right here. So what it does, because we have this system and all these receptors through our brain, our body, they're in every organ. So they're in our cardiovascular system, they're in our digestive system, they're in our brain, which is where pain actually comes from. And what it does is it goes to that switchboard that's all messed up. And it's like, this needs to come down. This needs to come up. Oh, that is way too high. Bring that down. And it balances the system as a whole. So it doesn't just numb you right out. It doesn't necessarily have that same effect. It can bring down the screaming pain voice for sure. It can. And for some people, it works a lot better than other people. But what I've found talking to a lot of cannabis users over the years is that THC feeling is a little different. Obviously, I'm a huge proponent of plant medicine, but THC puts you in a bit of a disassociative state. It puts you in a little kind of like checked out. So you don't really have to hear so much. It's like going into the other room when the argument's happening. CBD is like the counselor that comes in and talks to everybody and gets everyone on the same team and says, let's work together and run this household more efficiently. That's kind of the difference, right? Like totally scientific terms there. But again, I like to speak in analogies. So like I said, it would be really interesting to see you guys try this out in isolation, but having the expectation that, again, if you're looking at the counselor, this means everyone has to be on board. Everything has to be supportive. It's a little bit more of the long game of nourishing your endocannabinoid system systemically, daily, consistently, morning, night, keeping those receptors really well fed. And learning also, and this is a part where like my somatic, trauma healing therapy will kind of step in for a minute, learning to actually be with those feelings of pain, because there's a whole other chapter in the last 5 or 6 years in my own healing journey, in my own professional life, that I have got into, called basically functional neurology, applied neurology. And it is basically the way our brain and those chemical messengers of pain get awry, the way our brain gets dysfunctional from stress, trauma, a lot of different things that we all deal with, right? It's amazing that, you know, that kind of happened around the same time I was really getting into CBD, because CBD works on that level so much. But you also, it allows you to be in a state where you can work on that kind of stuff. Whereas THC, you can't really be embodied if you're chronically using that to not feel something. Again, it kind of is training our brain to disassociate. And so then when the THC wears off, the lion is louder in the room, the voice is louder in the ear. So there is a little bit of a negative feedback loop. Again, I have used THC. I love me some THC. It has a lot of great purposes. It's not legal in my state. So obviously it's not something that I have access to go get medically or recreationally. And there's a lot of people in that situation. It has its benefits. So I'm not trying to trash it at all, but I do think that there's a misunderstanding about some of the uses of it and the difference between that and CBD. And I think that that's important to clarify, because CBD is working on inflammation. It's working on that brain signaling. There's a neurologist that has actually been quoted as saying there are more cannabinoid receptors in your brain than there are neurotransmitters, which are things like serotonin and dopamine. So all of this stuff controls our pain response, right? When things are dysregulated in the brain and that system is depleted, those signals get louder and louder and louder. And pain is always a messenger. Kind of going back to what we led with, pain is a messenger, and it's a protective mechanism that says something's wrong, fix it. That is what pain is designed to do. Now, the unfortunate thing is, in our modern world, we're chronically overstressed. We get injuries and they don't get healed right. We get surgeries or we get given drugs. There's a lot of things that never really get felt and healed. We just patch it up and we push on. And again, unfortunately, that's kind of the double-edged sword of cannabis, because it sort of facilitates that. It facilitates, don't feel it, don't fix it, just do what you got to do to get through. Sometimes we need to do that. Sometimes you might have a kid that needs to go to a soccer game and you got to pull it together and push through the day however you need to, right? There's certain times where being able to disassociate from the pain is going to have its purpose. But chronically, the brain just starts sending more and more signals, louder and louder and louder, because it says, she's not listening. She's not listening. She's not listening. She's going to get hurt. And this has always been my perspective on things like cortisone shots and injections. Again, sports therapist for years, I worked with a lot of athletes and stuff, and they would come in and they would have this injury, this imbalance, this weakness, something skeletal, muscular, whatever. And they'd be like, yeah, my doctor wants to inject me with this thing. Well, if your ankle is imbalanced and you running is causing pain, let's fix the imbalance. Not take an injection in there and make us not feel it so that we go run harder and then we break something. And then we have to have a surgery. And then the cycle just kind of perpetuates. So that's kind of being in the pain management space. Again, sort of the double-edged sword of it is that we always want to be looking at the deeper thing and what we can be doing to facilitate the healing, and using something a little bit stronger that tunes everything out like THC when we need it most, and using things like CBD to nourish the system and keep everything working optimally, as well as, all the other lifestyle things like stress management, hydration, all the simple things, right? So that's kind of my take on, you had asked me about flower, and obviously it kind of evolved to that.
It's perfect. It's a perfect segue into my next question or topic too, because something that we talk about a lot, or I talk about a lot, I started using cannabis as a side effect or as an alternative to muscle relaxers, anti-inflammatories, all kinds of different drugs. It helped me. It helped me so much. And the surprise side effect that I didn't expect or know was it helped me so much with my consciousness and healing my anxiety and tuning in to the portal of my own heart and being able to step more into feeling those different frequencies and vibrations and understanding what they all were without letting them overwhelm me. And it's really been like supportive of me, like ceremonially, and helping me to just really expand my ego, honestly. And to like, it's so interesting because now I use it so much more regularly. And I feel things in my body now that I wasn't able to feel before. Like it's all coming back alive, and it's almost like it co-creates with my nervous system a lot of the time. And so Holly's also known as the spiritual fit chick, and I'm just wondering if you've used it ceremonially like that, or if it's something that supported you a little bit on the spiritual side of things too. And if you have experience with that.
Yeah. For one, I think the whole consciousness thing is a really good thing to point out because, you know, you've done a lot of work on yourself, from spiritual healing to shadow work to a lot of stuff, trauma healing, basically. And I think that's important to note because, you know, plant medicine and like psilocybin and psychedelics are getting a lot more popularity these days. And again, trendy, people are like, oh, it'd be so cool to go do ayahuasca. And they have no idea what they're about to crack open. They have no capacity to actually process that somatically. They have no awareness of what they're getting themselves into. And I think, you know, 90% of the time when I talk about cannabis to people, they're like, oh, I smoked one time in college and I had so much anxiety. For one, obviously there's different strains. There's sativa and there's indica, and those are very different. But also, what was your state? Were you really traumatized? Were you in a toxic relationship? Were you also binge drinking every weekend? Like, where were you at? Because it's going to open up certain things, right? It is plant medicine, and plant medicine has a consciousness to it, and it can open things up. So sometimes it can compound what you're going through, just like drinking can, typically in a more positive way, where alcohol kind of highlights the negative. Cannabis seems to highlight the positive, but it's different for everybody, right? Mm-hmm. So I think it has this incredible benefit. CBD on a lesser level, things like psilocybin, you know, mushrooms, different things like that on a higher level. But they all have that capacity, but they don't just do the work for you. Again, it's like the psilocybin may take you on the journey. The THC may help open up, but it's only going to work with you as far as you're willing to take it and do the work on your own too. So that's important to note in case anybody's, you know, kind of hears that and is like, oh, I want to open my consciousness. You still have to do the work. It's going to work.
Are you sure, guys? Because it really does bring in a lot. And these are all just tools. They're tools to help us heal. And this is yet another one.
Yeah, they are definitely tools, and you still have to do the real deeper work, you know? And to answer your question, I actually just wrote about this in a magazine called Holistic Fashionista. I wrote an article called, yes, it's such a beautiful magazine. Like, it's amazing. But I got to write about something I'm really passionate about. And the article in there is called Cbd and Ritual. And I talk about, in a condensed version, a lot of what we already discussed here is that, you know, it's sacred, it's meant to be honored, you want to treat it right. But I talk about the power of intention. So I can go and get some tap water and chug it, and it's going to give me some hydration, right? Like, I can do that. I can also go and pour some filtered water in this beautiful glass jar. And I have plenty of these that have little words written on them and affirmations. And in the morning, I literally like sit there and I take my CBD and I take my water and I like visualize it nourishing me and my cells lighting up, and I make it a conscious experience, right? I make it an intentional process, and you can do that with anything. The placebo effect is scientifically validated, and it proves that what we think is going to happen is going to happen. So it can compound anything that's already scientifically validated, right? Mm-hmm. If we think, hey, this is going to help me, this is going to be amazing, it's going to work better with your biochemistry than if you're like, this stuff sucks. And that's actually why I've given away 2 free bottles of CBD ever, reluctantly. But I knew that the people that got it were not going to have any positive effects because they had no conscious like value. They were like, it's whatever. And sure enough, they just had this weird experience with it. And I was like, you kind of didn't pay your dues to even like connect with it, you know, in a way. And because you got it free, you had no vested interest in it to, again, co-collaborate with the plant medicine. And I think that is super vital. I've done plant medicine journeys, psilocybin, and I did them with really incredibly authentically trained shamans that honored the plant medicine, honored mushroom spirits, like did the whole process, you know, trauma-informed psychotherapists, like the works. And I'm like, I can't imagine just deciding I was going to jump into that and just do it and not have that awareness. I think the same thing kind of applies to supplements and stuff too. Again, you need to do your due diligence. You need to kind of educate yourself, go to a company that you trust and that you feel confident about. You don't have that if you're just grabbing a random product off a, you know, Amazon shelf or whatever. And then actually like take the time to connect with it and work with it, because again, that applies to anything you're going to do. You can do that with innate objects, but this is a molecule that's kind of alive in a way, right? Like it does its own thing. It activates all these different parts of your body. Taking a second and making a ritual out of it, just daily use, or adding it to another ritual. Like if you're doing a full moon ritual, you could have CBD on your altar and light your candles and write your affirmations and set your intentions, and then do some CBD to kind of like solidify it. You know, like you could set this out with your crystals under the moon. Mine is always by my crystals, like always. My desk is full of them.
That's right up Kendra's alley.
Yeah. So it's like, why not, you know? And there's a lot of people, I kind of have this weird paradox of being super woo-woo and like the universe's magical spirit guides, angels, fairies. But then I'm like also very, very science-based, and that doesn't really fit. I don't really fit in either world. So it's like sometimes people are like science, 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 science. But I'm like, but you can also add a little magic to your science. And it's still scientifically validated, because again, your intentions, we have proof that your thoughts and your intentions create effects. So I think that not only should you use intention and ritual a little bit every day when you do things that are supportive of your health, like drink your water, take your supplements, eat your food, but you can also play around with it. Put some drops in the bath. Again, your new moon bath, put some drops of CBD in there. Do it on your face. It's great as a facial serum, and make that like self-love. Every time you do this, you're doing an affirmation. There's so many ways that you can amplify what's already incredible just by putting your positive energy into it. So that was what I wrote about in that article. And I just think it's a really cool, like cherry on top. Like this is the icing on the cake. I can make this even cooler, and it helps. Those kind of things matter. And I think they give you a better response.
Yeah.
Thanks, Holly. Kendra, do you have any follow-up questions for Holly?
I want to know where you grow your product. Like, do you grow it? Do you have an indoor facility, outdoor? Do you outsource it to a farmer? Like, where's your hemp come from?
Yeah, so our hemp is grown. There's 2 different farms. One's in Kentucky, one's in Boulder, Colorado. Everything is USDA certified organic, which was like literally a 2-year process. Like we were organic from the beginning, but there were only like 11 companies that actually had the USDA certified seal organic, because it's really hard to get and it's a really long, expensive, arduous process. But this past year, like we officially got the certified organic seal, and then we extract and everything in Colorado as well. So nothing from China, nothing imported, nothing from contaminated soil. A lot of hemp, because hemp is very absorbent, it pulls basically anything from the soil. So if you're not in organic soil, you're pulling up a lot of heavy metals, a lot of contaminants, a lot of junk in that. And again, that's why you'll see companies that don't have verified lab reports, which is basically an analysis that we broke all this down. There's no molds, there's no toxins, there's no heavy metals. There's this much CBD, there's this many terpenes. Like you need that analysis, and companies have to pay for that. Each batch of oil, we have to pay for that. But like, why wouldn't we do that? To show that our oil is the quality that it is. So yeah, those are really important things. Again, we're not the only legit company out there, but there's just so many, because in the last 5 or 6 years, CBD has exploded. Like when the Farm Bill passed, everybody jumped on board. There wasn't so much, so many logistics to work through. And it's been unfortunate because it's really put a bad taste in a lot of people's mouths. Again, family video, all the family videos I've seen that are still out in like these little tiny towns, like we have CBD. And I'm like, why does a video store have CBD? Like that doesn't make any sense. And so people have tried it and it hasn't worked, or they got a bad reaction from it, but there's no way to know what they even consumed. So all of that stuff's important to look for in a company. Is it certified organic? Do they have additives? Questions like that, like where do you grow? Is your hemp being imported from China? Because that's not where you should be getting your hemp, for a lot of different reasons. So it's really good to just do your due diligence. If you're going to look at a company, there's some amazing companies out there, but there's a lot of companies that just care about money and producing products because they're trendy. And that's not serving my goal of helping plant medicine, you know, be accessible to people and educate people about it so that it can help them heal and feel better mentally and physically. So you definitely want to look into all those things and be willing to ask those questions. Not a lot of people are. They kind of are just like, they walk into a store and they see a product and it's like, it's all the same, you know, but it's really not. So
yeah. Honestly, we don't even look at our, you know, in general, our food labels as you're such a champion for, and, you know, all those things. So it's just bringing awareness, and it's really important to know where your product is coming from.
Yeah.
And
yeah.
then I would, can you tell us, are we able to get your products in any retail stores anywhere, or is everything online?
So everything is online right now. We're direct to consumer. We were in the first year, that was actually kind of my main goal, is to be in practitioner stores and everything else. The problem is our oil and the price point. Again, a lot of those places want to buy something for $5 and sell it for $30.
Right.
That's not kind of the price point of therapeutic plant medicine, organic, you know, vapor extracted stuff. So we kind of pivoted. We wanted to keep the price point where it was at and accessible to people, where they weren't all these, you know, people trying to drop prices or raise prices. And so we just really focused on, hey, we don't need a middleman. We don't need to work with a lot of people that aren't going to uphold our standards and educate the way we educate and make false claims and all that. So we kind of, after the first year, I was like, I want to keep control of the product and the education, the resources, and all of that. So we're direct to consumer. We do ship to all, you know, 50 states, and we have a lot of other products too, because CBD, as amazing as it is, again, 99% of people are deficient in magnesium. If you're deficient in magnesium, you're going to be in a chronic pain state. You're not going to sleep very good. You're going to have migraines. There's going to be a lot of different things, and CBD may help balance a little bit, but it can't deliver magnesium to your body, you know? So there's a lot of other things that the first year I was just CBD, and then I was like, but I love all these other things. So we've developed a lot of other products that help different things. Like we have organic superfoods powders, you know, you can get 30 different organic vegetables and fruits in a scoop. Those are things that help people. Like I always talk about supplements as tools and catalysts. Again, sometimes you just need to be able to do that. You don't have 3 hours and $100 to go buy 20 different fruits and vegetables and chop them up. We're busy, you know, we need things that can kind of fit in our modern life, but still nourish us very systemically. And that's kind of our mission behind everything. And we're expanding a lot in the beauty space too. Like I created a natural deodorant because none of the natural deodorants that I used worked. And it was literally a total accident, the way this was created and stuff. But I'm really passionate about like low toxic beauty, and skincare and stuff too. So we're going to be moving into that space, but CBD by itself, like we have different blogs that talk about how to use it as a serum. It's really nourishing and healing for topical use too. You can use it. If it's a pure CBD, you don't need to have a cream that has 30 other toxic ingredients in it. Just put the CBD directly on your skin by itself. So again, it's just another one of those trend things that they add a bunch of filler and a bunch of bulking ingredients. And then they sell this cream that has 5 milligrams of usable CBD for $50, when you could just take a couple drops of the pure stuff and get a better effect. So there's a lot of trend products out there. I would say stay away from the trend products, get the pure stuff, but always be looking at the other contributing factors to what you're experiencing, whether that's insomnia or, you know, pain or anything else. Like you always want to be looking, how can we still get to the root while supplementing and supporting our body if we are having pain? And I think CBD is perfect for that because it literally helps the body heal. It helps the body regenerate. It helps the body do what it's supposed to do to get to that root. And there's not a lot of other things that do that. So that's why I love it.
Thank you.
Well,
so
I
much.
think it's divine time. I'm definitely going to start your product. I start physical therapy next week. And, you know, cause my, you know, just, it kind of just goes along with everything you're talking about, on how, you know, when you know, what the THC does and, you know, like CBD, how it just goes in there. It's an adaptogen. It just knows what the hell to do. It just goes in there and it takes care of business. And, because I'm in a state now that it's not legal, I'm on my knees. I am going the nutritional route. I just basically cured my anxiety by pulling my diet you know, just ripping it a new one and just going, you know, all organic fruits and vegetables and water and taking out everything out of my diet. And just like the anxiety went away. And I'm like, you know, I was about to start going to a psychiatrist, and like, there's nothing wrong with that. Anxiety is real, but to literally see that I could fucking cure my anxiety with food was fabulous for me to just realize that. And now I'm on my way to take care of my pain by actually strengthening my body, you know. And I love that there's plant medicine that's going to support me and lift me up right now, that I don't need to be taking, you know, Oxycontin or, you know, a muscle relaxer. Like Mandy was saying, like this was my life, you know, this is what I did. I couldn't get out of bed. It's 2017. That must've been the goddamn year for all of us, you know, where I was literally ready to saw my arms off and gave myself a fucking heart attack. You know, so it's like, I love that it's, you know, that we're all doing this together, and it's just the stigma's got to go, and people need to be smart and educate themselves. And this plant, you know, she's just a beautiful thing, and all parts of her, you know, and hemp is too. And I have this new respect for hemp after hearing you. So I just appreciate it so much. Yeah, I can't wait to try your stuff, and I will definitely let you know my experience with it.
Yeah, and something, just because I think it's relevant, and I would love to give this nugget of information.
Sure. Yeah. Thank you for giving us your time and your knowledge and this nugget. And then also make sure you share your stuff too at the end, because everybody's going to need a little bit of Holly's Zen in a bottle.
Yeah. So like with any pain condition, and this was a big part of my story too, because again, my background, science-based nutrition, I've had this deeply profound belief there's always a cause for a symptom, right? That's kind of been my thing my whole career. And when I first started getting sick, I went into this very hypervigilant state of, I got to fix it. What's the problem? What's the problem? What's the problem? What's the problem? And I mean, I got every book I could get my hands on, every Facebook group, every podcast, study. It's my adrenals. It's my thyroid. I have like 10 diagnoses: fibromyalgia, POTS, chronic fatigue syndrome, dysautonomia. There's all these different things, adrenal fatigue, hypothyroidism. Basically, it means your body is having like a total shit show, but very oftentimes that is coming from dysfunction in the brain, and it can be triggered from chemical exposure, a viral, you know, a lot of people are getting this post-COVID, they're getting an infection, and it's turning their whole nervous system on like overdrive, but it's never given the tools to come out of that hypervigilant overactive state. So then they have insomnia, they have all this pain, they have fatigue. It's crippling people. I mean, hundreds of thousands of people are dealing with this. I had strep throat. That was kind of the straw that broke the camel's back for me. And I was just so depleted that my body could never recover. So I went nutrition, supplements. I mean, oh my gosh, I overdosed my body in supplements. I'm so sorry. But I just was trying everything because I was like, there's got to be a thing. But it actually made things so much worse. I didn't really start to heal, even with all these profound tools that were helping me. I didn't start to make really systemic change until I backed up and slowed down and really focused on that nervous system stuff of, I need to be able to be okay with being in pain right now. Because when you tell your body you're okay being in pain, you think, well, no, I don't want to be in pain. Like, that's not the point. But it lowers that threat. Your body says there's not an emergency. Cool. And then it can relax, and then you can sleep. And then the next day, it's like another process for lowering that voice, but it's not just lowering the voice, it's lowering the thing that's causing the voice. It's really getting to the root. So I just wanted to share that, like, things like DNRS, like brain training, I've got some great resources that I could share with people and send if you want to drop them in the show notes. But if anybody is dealing with any kind of chronic issue, pain-based, they've had trauma, they've got these complex health issues, supplements, diet, nutrition, hydration, sleep are huge. But then there's this big component over here, which is neurology, which is the way the brain's interpreting all this stuff. And a lot of times when we're trying to heal, we get overactive. We actually add more stress to our body and reconfirm that there's a problem. And again, that's where THC kind of gets tricky, because it turns all that off, but then you wake up the next morning and your body's like, by the way, there's this problem still. And so the pain gets louder and louder, and the body it's just this really negative feedback loop. So that's kind of my next chapter. That's one of the reasons I'm on a social media hiatus right now, is I'm working on a program, because that was the missing piece, the true missing piece. There were a lot of supportive things for me. Again, taking out the toxins, cleaning up my diet even more, so many different things that helped me. But that was like the biggest piece for me. And the more I've studied this aspect of neurology and healing, the more I realized that like it's a missing piece for literally everybody. Everybody kind of reaches this stall point in their healing and they try harder and harder and harder and do more and more things, but their brain never gets that attention that it needs. And that full healing never happens. So I think that even though that has nothing to do with CBD, that it's super important. And it does kind of go hand in hand because again, what CBD does is it helps calm the nervous system. It helps bring the body and brain into balance, but there's a lot of other things that do that and help facilitate that process as well. So I just felt inclined to share that because I think it could be really helpful for you.
Thank you. And that's, you know, that's what we're about. That's Cbd Healing Arts and connecting things. And Kendra's business is literally called Higher Self Healing. And so it's about connecting all the dots and it's about allowing us. I have a friend who's an amazing, she calls herself a folk herbalist, a shamanic folk herbalist actually. And she talks about mama cannabis and how it can be sticky, how it is sticky and how it's important to sometimes be aware of where it sticks in your body and in your mind and when you're using it and what it's for. And so it can be this beautiful bridge into consciousness, into healing your body. There's all these amazing different versions into doing it. Kendra and I, we're probably going to call ourselves out because we've been doing these little challenges. So maybe we will take a break and just do the CBD when it feels in alignment and report back to Holly. So I'm just excited. And thank you so much for sharing your time and your energy and your wisdom and your knowledge. Can you please also share with us how people can follow you and get a hold of you and work with you if they'd like?
Yeah. So even though I'm off social media right now, I'll be back and I have tons of resources for you guys to visit, you know, Instagram across the board, Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, everything. I'm Spiritual Fit Chick. Just at Spiritual Fit Chick, spiritualfitchick.com. You can link to my supplement company there. I have tons of blogs, again, highlight reels. Like I geek out on this stuff all the time. So I like to share a lot of research and different things. So you can definitely find a lot of information there. And then of course, you know, we have customer service. You can get on the website, ask questions. You can see our lab reports, look at the different products and stuff. And there's a lot of information there for people to read. And then if they have questions, they can always reach out.
Beautiful. Kendra, awesome. Any last words tonight?
No, I just appreciate your time, Holly. I'm so glad we finally got to meet you and I cannot wait to try your stuff. And I don't know, I just feel like I met a new friend tonight. So I'm just very excited and wish you the best. Lots of success with your business.
Thank you. Thank you. And thanks for sharing, you know, some of your story and for asking great questions. You're actually in my old hometown. I lived in Nashville and that's where my business was, my gym and everything I owned for years. So when Mandy mentioned that, I was like, I always get a little nostalgic because it still feels like home to me. So maybe we can connect when I'm in town sometime.
That'd be awesome.
Yeah.
Very cool.
I'm coming too.
Yes, please do.
We'll make it happen. Thank you all so much for tuning in to Toke and a Talk. Give us a like, a share, a follow at Cbd Healing Arts. Check out Holly's Zen in a Bottle and Spiritual Fit Chick. And until next time, pass the peace pipe. Bye.
Bye.